My name is Corinna. I'm 28 years old. My husband Brooks, who is 30, and I both work and manage our household, leading a busy life. Brooks is a bit stubborn, but I was attracted to his masculinity, his way of taking the lead. I said all of him, good and bad, believing we'd love each other forever. But lately, he's been showing a side I never saw before we got married.
Ugh, I'm so tired. Everyone at work is so annoying.
He comes home from work and lets out an exaggerated sigh. Then, like a catchphrase, asks, "Is dinner ready yet?"
Just a bit longer, please.
Think Spider a start preparing the meal. He used to thank me for cooking after a long day, but now it's just complaints and sighs. Inside, I keep thinking I'm tired too. Still, I try not to say anything that might upset him. But it's not just work that spoils his mood. One weekend, during a casual chat, I jokingly said, "I wish you would cook sometimes, Brooks." He suddenly turned serious and snapped. He retorted, "Cooking is the wife's job." Wife's job? What era are you living in? We both work. It shouldn't matter who cooks. I apologized immediately, but it was too late. He stayed angry till the next day. Normally, Brooks is kind and jokes around, but once he's upset, he's like a rebellious child, and I can't do anything. Up to him about it, trying not to upset him. I've been walking on eggshells, feeling more and more stressed. Epite ECT Maria. Then my savior came, the new life growing inside me. I was thrilled about my pregnancy, wondering how Brooks would react. Bitchin' when I told him, all he said was, "Oh really?" I had expected more excitement and felt let down by his lackluster response.
And when we went to his parents to share the news, they were delighted. "Congratulations. It must be scary your first time." But ask me anything. Said my mother-in-law Sheila kindly, even the usually quiet father-in-law Orville said, "I can't do much as a man, but don't hesitate to ask for help." Or so.
On the way home, he muttered, I never wanted a kid. Kids are just trouble. Cost money, and I'll lose my free time.
Even if you say that now, I felt guilty for being pregnant, as if I'd done something wrong. Brooks became more selfish, often drinking after work and treating me unfairly. At 4 months pregnant, I had severe morning sickness and couldn't take care of the household. Brooks couldn't handle it, and our life started falling apart.
Sickness and headache, so I took a day off work. When I told Brooks, he said, "I'm going out with colleagues tonight. Don't wait up for me," and left as if he hadn't heard me. That night, overwhelmed by the headache and nausea, I called him for help. He said coldly, "What, you want me to leave my drink and come home? If you're that sick, call a taxi and go to the hospital." I regretted calling him. In the end, I called a taxi myself and went to the emergency hospital at night. My husband didn't come home until after midnight. Just from the next day, until I returned to my parents' home to prepare for childbirth, I decided to avoid relying on my husband and stay strong. Several months later, I gave birth. At a hospital near my parents' house, I had a healthy baby girl. "You can choose the baby's name," my husband had said. So I named her Ashlyn, a name I'd been thinking about for a long time. I sent him a text with a chosen name and a photo of our daughter, but his reply didn't come until the next morning. "Looks like a monkey, doesn't resemble me. The name's fine." Even knowing that my husband was brief in texts, his words deeply disappointed me. Just a little month after giving birth, I returned to our condominium. Back already? You should have taken it easy a bit longer. He said, not even trying to look at our daughter, just voicing his displeasure. Hoping that seeing his daughter might stir some joy of fatherhood, I was disappointed to find his attitude unchanged since before the birth. Since then, my days have been filled with housework and childcare. I had taken a year of parental leave, thinking I could focus on childcare, but it was like having a big demanding child. Yeah. Husband, he didn't help with the baby at all. Growing resentful as I prioritized our child over him, sleep-deprived and exhausted both physically and mentally. My stress was reaching its limit. See a Prost. One Saturday morning, while preparing lunch to coincide with my husband's waking time, he woke up grumbling. Damn it, can't even sleep properly because of the baby's crying on my day off. Lunch? Is it ready? Hurry up and make it. As usual, I continued cooking silently. Then our daughter, who had been sleeping, started crying again. Hey, she's crying. My husband called out from where he's laying down, watching TV, busy with a dish involving hot oil. I reluctantly asked, could you change her diaper? I think it's wet and I can't leave this right now.
Don't joke around. Change the diaper now.
What? I'm busy changing channels with the remote. Do it yourself.
At his words, my stress finally reached its limit. In that moment, something inside me exploded.
Don't joke around. Change the diaper now.
Hey, why are you getting mad? Who do you think you are? Ordering around your master like that is having and raising a kid that big of a deal. You can't even properly care for one child without you're making a fuss. Be what's with that look. If you hate me so much, I'm willing to divorce anytime.
Finally, my husband brought up divorce. I wanted to leave the house right then. Yet I couldn't just leave my crying daughter and go, so I suppressed my anger and changed her diaper.
Great. The diaper takes my precedence over my meal. I don't want to eat anything made with hands that touch that dirty thing. Ashram with that, he left the house.
Until now, I had tolerated everything for my daughter's sake, but I couldn't bear it anymore. Living with my husband was unbearable. Deciding to divorce, I immediately called my mom.
Mom, I have something to tell you.
I explained everything I had endured from my husband, and Mom listened in silence.
At least if it's that hard, come back home. Knowing how patient you are, it must be serious for you to consider divorce.
Feeling a bit relieved after confiding in my mom, I thought about returning to my parents' home after the divorce. That night, my husband returned home late. I noticed the sound of him opening the door, but he didn't say anything and just fell asleep on the sofa.
It's in the morning, I said. I'm going out, but got no response from him.
Maybe if he had apologized for his harsh words yesterday, I might have reconsidered. I headed to my husband's parents' house. I wanted to talk to my in-laws, who had treated me like their own daughter since our marriage, before discussing the divorce with my husband.
Sorry, Sheila Orville.
I apologized and shared my desire for divorce and to take my daughter with me.
The text actually 18s. What happened all of a sudden?
I'm sorry, it's my fault. Please ask Brooks for the reasons.
All I could do was keep apologizing. Seeing my distress, Orville called my husband, who arrived about an hour later.
What the hell are you doing?
Orville scolded him as soon as he saw him. Surprised by the shouting, my husband straightened up.
Macarena says she wants to divorce you.
Affronted by Sheila's stern questioning, my husband slowly apologized to me.
I was wrong. I never thought you'd seriously ask for a divorce. I'll help with the housework and childcare. Please don't leave.
What? Seeing my husband's solemn apology, I was surprised.
Colonel, we beg you to please reconsider the divorce.
After hearing them out, I took a moment and said, I'll try to improve myself too. Let's start over together.
Seeing my response, my in-laws looked relieved, but I didn't believe in the sudden change in my husband's attitude. It wasn't just a free pass for him. I decided to give him some freedom and watch, and he really showed any signs of remorse.
Karina, contact us immediately if anything happens.
But from the next day, my husband became surprisingly kind. Normally, he would leave for work without a word after breakfast, but now he was offering to help with grocery shopping. He used to hate even accompanying me to the supermarket.
Just hearing this offer from him, I replied, thanks, but it's okay.
Cooking while taking care of a child is hard, right? I'll buy some of your favorite foods.
His entirely different attitude puzzled me, and I almost believed he had really changed. But I remembered something I read in a book. People don't change that easily. I told myself to be more cautious. Fine. Since that evening, my husband returned home with big shopping bags in his hand. What's all this? I asked. Just thought shopping might be hard for you, he replied. He bought meals from a high-end restaurant and luxury ingredients from a gourmet supermarket. While I wanted to thank him for his thoughtfulness, constantly buying such expensive items could strain our finances. So I thanked him, but asked him to refrain from such lavish shopping in the future. For a while, we enjoyed a peaceful period.
Thanks for your hard work every day. Tonight's dinner is a steak made from beef bought at the high-end supermarket.
One evening, my husband happily ate the steak, praising the quality of the expensive meat. But in reality, it was cheap meat from our usual supermarket. I'm perfectly happy with regular meat. I thought, secretly pleased with my small act of revenge. The price difference is approximately 3 times. A small revenge for my husband who doesn't know the taste, and a small reward for me.
Why don't I make sandwiches for your lunch? Eating out all the time isn't nutritious.
Really, wouldn't that be a lot of work?
And for me, saving money was more important than the effort. So I started preparing his lunch from the next day.
Having a lunch made by my wife is really great. Even the single guys at work are jealous. I shared a sandwich with one of them.
He came home smiling and handed me his lunchbox the next evening. The next evening, I made a salad with tomatoes, which he hates. He grimaced and I apologized. Sorry, I thought you had started liking them. He looked confused, as if wondering how I could forget such a thing.
Your need for sandwiches next week. I'll be out a lot. Okay, understood.
Finally, a move. I decided it was time to start my plan. That the following week, contrary to his wish, I decided to deliver sandwiches for his lunch to his office. After explaining my purpose at the reception, I waited in the lobby when a man I didn't recognize came down from the second floor.
I'm McLennan from the same department. He's supposed to be on vacation all week. Excuse me, but may I ask your relation to him?
What kind of relation, indeed? I had clearly told the receptionist I was a family member.
Actually, I'm his wife. He's always under your care.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. My apologies.
No need to apologize so much. I checked the name tag on the man's chest, McLennan. That's the name of a junior colleague my husband often talks about.
Ah, are you the McLennan from my hometown?
Yes, I was surprised when your husband told me to. Realizing he was the person I expected, I decided to confront him.
By any chance, are you the one who always washes the lunchbox?
Eh? You knew. Yes, I always enjoy the meals.
I had wondered why the lunchbox my husband brought home was sometimes clean. Even though he is considerate, there is no way he would wash the lunchbox and return it to that selfish husband. What's more, I once intentionally added tomatoes, which my husband hates, and he never complained. I sensed something was off. With that in mind, I started monitoring my husband's activities during the day. But as suspected, my husband was meeting a woman during lunch. I saw him getting into the passenger seat of a compact car driven by a young woman in a large parking lot. They stayed in the car for perhaps about 30 minutes, probably sharing a meal she made. After lunch, my husband would leisurely get out of the car and return to the office. East McLennan confessed he always ate the lunches I made. That's fine. It saves me the trouble of washing the lunchbox. When I looked at him with a smile, he said, "Please don't blame your husband," and told me how he started receiving sandwiches from him. He lives alone and is hungry for home-cooked food. Upon frites to work krotlet and mileagiastis, my husband, wanting to eat out once in a while, had struck a deal with him who longed for home-cooked meals.
It's okay, I won't blame him, as long as someone is enjoying the food. And let's keep our talk today between us.
Understood. Our secret.
He seems like a decent person.
Sorry for the long chat. I was nearby for an errand and thought to say hello. It's not much, but please share this with everyone.
I handed him not the lunch I made, but some snacks I bought.
I'd say your husband is helping a relative move, right? Isn't that nice? Well, I'll be going now.
He gave me a slight nod and hurried back upstairs. But moving, spending time with family, what? I see. That makes sense now. I was convinced, alone with my thoughts. Around lunchtime, I called my husband.
Where are you right now?
At the office, of course.
At the office.
I forgot to give you your sandwich for lunch. I'll bring it over now.
No need. I told you I don't want it. I'm busy right now. Let's talk later. Bye. Bye, why?
Click. The call ended. He phoenixed even though he wasn't the one at fault. Then, 2 days later, on the day of execution, I had confirmed the information from him and found the address of the apartment my husband secretly rented from his room's drawer. All that was left was to catch him in the act. I had informed my in-laws of the plan. Please take care of our daughter. After handing over my daughter to Sheila, who came to our house, I headed to Exlicite with Orville. All right, there are 2 cars in the parking lot. Orville calmly called my husband.
Looks, Corinna and I are in front of your apartment. Open the door.
What excuses would my husband make caught cheating by his wife and dad? He appeared at the entrance, looking shocked and confused.
But what are you two doing here?
He came out, avoiding eye contact with me.
Let's not cause a scene here. Those
We entered the apartment with Orval.
Hello, please have a seat, though it's a bit cramped.
In the living room, the woman my husband was with in the park offered us chairs. She seemed unusually calm.
Please, break up with him.
FIL.
Your husband and I are in a serious relationship, but you won't divorce him, and you're just after his money, aren't you?
What is this woman talking about?
So you told her that?
Right, Brooks, that's right, isn't it?
As the woman and I exchanged words, my husband looked bewildered. Well?
This is what Corinna not agreeing to divorce. I never heard such a thing. I heard you didn't want to.
My husband, cornered with no escape, faced everyone's accusations.
I'm sorry, what? Speak up, make sure everyone can hear you clearly.
This was the second time I raised my voice at my husband.
I trembled as if scared.
Looked on in disbelief.
Sign here.
I slammed the divorce papers I had prepared onto the table.
I thought you still believed I hadn't noticed anything. Isn't it you who's after the money?
Well, you've doubt I changed like you were so cold to me, and then suddenly became kind. Bad people don't change that easily.
I suspected his sudden change wasn't a genuine transformation, but had another motive, including the suspicion of infidelity.
You spent the money we were saving for a future house, didn't you? Next, you were eyeing the inheritance I got from my grandfather. If we divorced, you'd have to deal with the squandered savings. The compensation, right?
Brooks, is that true, or are you deceiving me?
As I sharply pointed out, the other woman interrupted. Could you please be quiet for a moment?
That there's no point in prolonging this. Just sign the papers.
He placed the pen on the table. Under our piercing stares, my husband, with shaking hands, signed the divorce papers.
I'll contact you later regarding the compensation and child support. Shall we go, Orval?
As I stood up, my husband clung to me. Please, I was wrong. Don't abandon me. Isn't it usually the wife who clings, pleading not to leave? I shook off his hand and delivered the final blow. Don't you dare joke with me? Overwhelmed by my intensity, both my husband and the other woman were left gaping. After Orval and I left, I could only imagine the chaos that ensued in the apartment. It turned out that the woman was only after my husband's money, and when she found out he had none left, she quickly left. All that remained for my husband were the empty rooms of his rented apartment and our condominium. The years have passed. I, who thought I was done with men and marriage, remarried. It was McLennan, my ex-husband's colleague, who had enjoyed my sandwiches, who became my husband. About a year after I moved back home, we met by chance. He'd also left the company and returned to our hometown to take over the family business. I knew we were from the same town, but what a coincidence.
Actually, I couldn't forget the taste of the sandwiches you made.
He confessed this after we got married. He still eats everything I cook, including lunch sandwiches, without any fuss.
I can eat properly too.
Seeing her dad, my daughter, also tries her best to eat well. Vermal is best. Having learned from my past failure, I appreciate the simple happiness I have now.